I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Well, I guess we're back. Happy week to you. Whatever week this happens to be. You know, are you aware August is almost completed yet? At my age, time flies. Anyway, but having said that, I could have sworn yesterday it was August 1st. But it's not. It's August 21st, Tuesday. The year of our Lord 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct, right here from the SHR Media Network. You got a belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. Blaine is going to be your bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is indeed on, illuminated right now. We don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, sex, science, economics, law. I screwed that up. We talk about it all here at the Saloon. Nothing is sacred, the speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the handle. Well, you could flush the handle, but then no one would be able to flush the toilet after you. You've got to flush the toilet, then you jiggle the handle. Don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, this will be brand new for me. I have another person on for the first hour that I have never spoken to before. However, this gentleman is a highly respected individual in the D.C. area and has his own radio show, as a matter of fact. So, why is he lowering himself to be on mine? Well, let's find out. Anyway, here's what's going to happen tonight. For the first entire hour, we're going to be speaking to Lonnie Poindexter. And all I have to do is tap this button right here, and we'll see if we can get him. All the way from Washington, D.C. Or perhaps we won't.
Hello?
Lonnie, is that you, sir?
That's me, sir.
Outstanding. Great to have you. We are live on the air immediately. Folks, first, I want to say this. Tonight, I have the unique and very special privilege of speaking to Lonnie Poindexter, who is a Christian, a conservative, a lion chaser, and he's the host of his own radio show, Lion Chasers with Lonnie Poindexter, and that's on weekdays, 10 to 12 p.m. Central on urbanfamilytalk.com. And his show is quantified this way, and it's right on that website. It says, Lion Chasers with Lonnie Poindexter is an in-depth look at the effects of liberal ideology on the African-American community. Our aim is to replace long-held lies and deception with sound biblical principles that point our community back to a moral and free society. Rebuilding our foundation with biblical principles and unwavering truth is essential if we hope to produce a prosperous community and strong families. So, welcome ever so kindly, Lonnie Poindexter, to the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. And also, more importantly, thanks for staying up so darn late, because after all, right now, it's 11 o'clock your time.
No problem, brother, at all. In fact, you're right in my sweet spot. I'm a night owl, so when you said 11 o'clock at that, I got that. No problem at all.
Okay, well, that's better yet, because usually, I don't know why, it just works out this way. The bulk of my guests happen to stem from the East Coast. And luckily, up to this point, only a few have said, you know, I can't stay up that late. If you want to talk to me, you're going to have to pre-record me. And I just ever so enjoy talking to people live because things are just more spontaneous. You don't do any edits. You don't do any cuts. And the people that I talk to get to see who I am, and I get to hear who they are. And I got to tell you, sir, I have a ton of questions for you tonight. Because we've never had you here before. I don't know how many people are familiar with you, and I want to make sure that your message gets out because I have done a lot of reading, and I see you on Melanie's Facebook and a lot of other people's Facebook, which is primarily how I got to meet you in the first place. So I'm pretty sure that I'm only going to get to just a fraction of the questions. But I got to tell you, sir, right off the bat, this phrase grabbed me. And it says in the broadcast website that you have, it says, our aim is to replace long-held lies and deception. So let's be specific. What are the long-held lies and deceptions of which you speak?
Great question. Oh boy, where do I start with this?
I know it's so open, but I'm kind of trying to. It's such an open field, and I know how you feel, sir. I know how you feel.
Yes. Well, you know, the lies and deceptions are those things that are put forth by the liberal progressive community, or as we like to call them, the liberal regressive community. We call on the show and in our network, Urban Family Talk. Because progressive sounds like a positive term, correct?
Yeah.
It's
the opposite.
Exactly. Why use a positive term to describe something that's heinous, and in my humble opinion, from the pit of hell? The black community is being used as pawns in this evil agenda to drive this nation or turn this nation to something it was never intended to be. And,
right off the bat, bingo.
And so when you come to that conclusion, once you've done your homework and you understand what's going on, at least in my particular case, because I happen to be one of those individuals with a darker paint job, I get angry. And so the show's chief purpose is to expose the lies, to tell true history, and to just articulate the value proposition of what it means to be truly an American. And for those who happen to look like me, it's no different than someone that looks like you, that we both espouse the same values and understand the brilliance of the nation and more specifically the brilliance of the founding fathers of this nation. Because as I'm sure you know, brother, what you see in news and media today, they're looking to rewrite history, right?
They're looking to rewrite history, and they're looking to take down history. You know, I've said for a long time, what is frightening me is that all you have to do is read Eric Arthur Blair, otherwise known as George Orwell. Read his book, 1984, and I'm watching his book played out live in front of my face every day. And at first I thought, hey, no big deal, we'll all be fine. Until the new day arrives, and I find another new abrogation that I had no idea that these people were going, what direction they were going to take. And I have a phrase for them. I call them the LDAM, leftists, Democrats, and American media maggots. They're a triumvirate, a clotted triumvirate who, in my opinion, are doing nothing more than just trying to take down the entire country.
They certainly are. And being here in the middle of the swamp, and I'm literally smack dab in the middle of the swamp. I'm just down the street from the Capitol, both the Capitol and the White House. You see it up close and personal as it rolls out each and every day with this agenda. And I see how common sense America, flyover America, people of faith, if we are not participating in public policy, they're going to continue with their agenda. You know, it's like when good people, how's that thing go? And good people fail to stand up. Forgive me, I'm going to paraphrase this. When good people don't stand up and do what's right, it creates a vacuum, if
Yes.
you will,
Yes.
that sucks in all the uglies. And so they are having a party, or we're having a party here on Capitol Hill, the members of the establishment community, until that fateful day when the brash New Yorker was elected. And I got to tell you, brother, it shocked these chuckleheads here in Washington, D.C., because they had the deck so stacked for you-know-who to win, that the news media wasn't even preparing any statements in the unlikely event that Donald Trump was going to be successful, because they had so stacked the deck in favor of Clinton. So now what you have taking place here in D.C. is the establishment members of the ruling class here in D.C., and that's in both parties. And make no mistake, folks, and I'm sure your listeners know this. They are, how can I put this? They are throwing pots and pans and having hissy fits at this president, and they're doing whatever they can. And left to their own devices, they will undermine his presidency or have him out and out impeached through lies, half-truths, and innuendo.
Well, like I said, let's start at the start. Looking through your material, your social media, things of that nature, I noticed that you feature yourself as a lion chaser. Now, I think I have a fairly good idea of what that means to me, but what does a lion chaser mean to you, sir?
Okay. Simply, a lion chaser is those individuals of uncommon faith who are unafraid to stand up and speak truth, and especially in these dark and evil days. And the term is taken from a piece of scripture. It's in 1 Chronicles 11:22 in the Bible, where one of David's mighty men named Benaiah went down in a pit, chased a lion down in a pit on a snowy day, and went mano a mano and prevailed. So it's about uncommon men and women of faith who stand up and speak truth, because it takes a certain kind of individual to go one-on-one with a lion and win that battle.
Let's, you're probably not watching on TV, but I literally, Lonnie, folks, we're talking to Lonnie Poindexter of Lion Chasers at Urban Family Talk. I have a host of questions, but let's kind of start at the start. Since this is the first time I've spoken to you on this show, where were you born and where did you go to school?
Sure. I'm a West Coast boy. I'm originally from Southern California.
Really?
Yeah. Born and raised in the Los Angeles area. And my 6-year anniversary of being dropped literally in the swamp with August 18th of 2012, I moved to Washington, D.C. And had no intention of moving here. In fact, had a completely different plan for my life. My background is one where my formal training is in IT, so I was a bit of a geek and worked in Silicon Valley for a number of years, primarily on the West Coast.
Okay.
And then the man upstairs got my attention one day, said, I want you to go to Washington. I want you to be involved in, what I call the Christian conservative movement. And I had other plans. And so I said, well, that's all nice, Lord, but I want to do something else. So anyway, he got my attention in the unique way that he can. I cried uncle and I said, okay, I'll go. So I have no formal training in mass communications or radio. The only thing I'd ever been told was back, during my school days, I was told that I have a radio voice. So, brother, I thought that I was going to end up maybe being one of those late-night disc jockeys on the FM stations. You're like, 106.5 FM, bringing you the hits.
Yes. So you went to school down in Southern California somewhere then?
Yes, I did. So I grew up not far from LAX, and then went to college in the Central Coastal area at Monterey Peninsula College, and then got into, was originally I had wanted to be an architect, really wanted to be a musician, and so I had aspirations of becoming a star, and I had some musical talent, but I got to tell you, brother, I don't like starving to death. And when you're a musician, you gotta struggle for your craft. And I found out I had other talents.
You certainly do. That's like I decided a long time ago. I was on KFBK for a long time at a whole bunch of different radio stations, and just like you, I finally realized, hey, you know what? You're not going to make any money here. And so I decided to hoof out on my own, and I ended up doing 41 years in law enforcement. So down in Southern California, when you were growing up, Lonnie Poindexter, what was your life like when you were growing up?
Well, I grew up in would be considered West Los Angeles, or what do they call it? Southwest Los Angeles area. It's the land of which today is known as gangster rap and gang warfare and
Compton?
all the other sundry things. I lived in Compton, California during my early years, and then also in Inglewood, California during my grade school and secondary and high school years. So I saw that community go from being a classic bedroom community where you can leave your doors unlocked. I called it the equivalent of Leave It to Beaverland. I saw it go from that to what you see today is a land that same beautiful homes and so forth, but everybody has bars on their windows, and you don't want to be sitting near a window at night because of a stray bullet.
Which is no way to live a life, and so many people are locked in there down there. I'm going to ask this question early because I think it's going to lead to a myriad of answers going away from that. Tons of different directions. So Lonnie Poindexter, for the first-time guests, I always ask this, and you started going there already, and I thought, okay, darn, is he going to take this question away from me? But you didn't. But you did start to go there. So I asked people, what were some of the most pivotal events in your life? And what I mean by that is this. Instances where your life might have been moving in one direction and something happens, an incident occurs that changes that direction entirely, or perhaps an event or a series of events that create kind of an epiphany for you. For example, for me, I've had 3 absolutely critical pivotal events in my life that absolutely altered me forever. So framed in that fashion, what might be one or some of the pivotal events in your life, sir?
Ooh, that one's blowing outside. I'm going to do everything I can to knock it completely out the park. For me, it took place, and there were others, but this one is kind of singular because it does tie to the others. For me, it happened in one of my best friends I grew up with. We founded a computer company in Southern California, down in Orange County in Irvine, back in the 80s. And so I was living in Northern California at the time. He started the company and told me to come down. He could use some help, so I came down to join him. And we took that company and we grew it from about 3 or 4 employees to about 20 employees, doing about $1 million a year in sales.
God bless you. That's fabulous.
And back in the 80s, that's a nice chunk of change back in the 80s, $1 million a year. So we did that, and so we had a fair measure of success. And like most small businesses, we were undercapitalized, and rather than going out and securing loans, hindsight's 20/20, we fell behind on our payroll taxes. Now, in the state of California, you do that, and then you've got the Gestapo coming after you.
Yeah.
And shortly thereafter, we ran afoul with the state of California, and so we worked out an arrangement that, our business is such that we secure projects, the cash flow is up, and when those projects are complete, the cash flow thins out until we secure the next project, sort of up and down, kind of cyclical thing.
Right.
And so they said, okay, so we made out arrangements to get caught up, and we're well on our way of getting caught up quickly because we did have the cash flow and that kind of thing. Well, one day, and I remember this like it was yesterday, payroll's on a Friday. So we issue out checks on Thursday evening. The guys go to the bank Friday morning before they come into the office, and we had a fleet of techs. And I look out in the parking lot, and I see most of our technicians pull up in their pickup trucks and what have you. Most of these guys were big proponents of the Second Amendment, these kinds of things, and they're not happy. So they walk into the offices and they demand to know what happened to their money. Where's our money? Well, what do you mean, where's our money? We went to cash our checks, and all the checks bounced.
Oh, crap.
So immediately we call the bank, and the bank was a business bank that's no longer around, was absorbed by somebody else. And the bank says, we're sorry, Mr. Poindexter. We wanted to tell you but they told us, told us that they would put us in jail if we alerted you all to what they were doing. So what had happened is the state went in and absconded with our entire payroll for that week and left about $50 in the account that kept the account open, and money was gone. So now we're calling, obviously, the government, the state of California, and saying, what the heck's going on, in particular the contract that we had there. We had arrangements. Why did you all go into our business account and clean our business account out? We got 19, 20 employees outside, and they're pissed. And their response to us was, we don't care. And so we made arrangements. We said, we don't care. We can choose arbitrarily what we'd like to do, and we decided this is what we're going to do. And we said, well, and so the president, who was my best friend, I was the vice president, we said, well, if we can't pay our employees, they won't go out and work. If they won't go out and work, we don't have billable hours that we can receive income in to pay the money that you say that we owe you.
Yeah, you're killing us to make a point.
Bruh.
It's like being sent to debtor's prison.
Yes. They told us they did not care. I will never forget this. We don't care. We'll take everything that you own and put you in jail. Brother, right then and there is when I had my epiphany. I discovered that, hey, Lonnie, guess what? The boogeyman is not some white guy sitting in some ivory tower somewhere, some corporate icon, or sitting wherever that's hating on black people. The boogeyman is some guy showing up in a...
Uh-oh. Lonnie, are you there, sir? Something happened to your phone.
There we go.
Oh,
there we go. I'm back.
Okay. All righty. Well, what you were saying is that you discovered that the boogeyman exists in the form of, initially, the state of California government.
Yes. And that started the journey for me. And I began to, at the same time that was going on, it's like, God's got this unique timing. One of the employees of our company attended a church there in the Orange County area and had invited me on a few occasions to go to church. So I went with him, and I discovered a mature ministry, and the eldership had an understanding of entrepreneurship and so forth based upon its teachings of the Bible, and I began to understand what was really going on. My ideology in terms of my belief systems and so forth as it related to having a conservative worldview began to congeal then, because guess what, bro? I was raised very conservatively. It's just that my parents wouldn't call themselves conservatives, nor would they call themselves Republicans. But I was raised with a conservative worldview. And so that's when the journey began for me to connect my conservative worldview from a biblical standpoint to a worldview from a political standpoint, if you will. And I haven't looked back since.
Okay, so you didn't necessarily come from a religious family per se.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah, raised in church. Had to be in church every Sunday.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, parents were Methodist. Yes.
But essentially, what occurred then, if I'm understanding this correctly, is that the melding of politics and religion came through you by way of what the government inflicted upon you years ago when you're trying to essentially make money for the government, and all you needed was someone somewhere, a faceless bureaucrat, who agreed initially to your terms and then pulled the rug out from underneath you completely.
You hit the nail on the head, brother. Like I said, I remember it like it was yesterday. It changed me. It changed my business partner as well. He had more assets than I had, and they went after him, and it was a 10-year battle and ordeal for him specifically because he had the assets, the home, and all that kind of thing. I was a single guy at the time, so I guess they figured I wasn't low-hanging fruit, but they made his life miserable, and mine as well to a certain extent, but nothing like what he went through. And that's when I really began to see. I said, these folks, they don't care. And so it changes you. If you grew up and you happen to have, and I use the term darker paint job because I talk specifically about the superficiality of ethnicity in America today, because, you know, we live in such a divisive culture based upon race. And you begin to understand that, you know, the individuals that have ill will towards you, more than likely in this nation happen to be associated with the wills of government. And it's the reason why Benjamin Franklin said we have a constitutional republic if we can keep it.
If we can keep it. Yes, exactly. Please excuse me, I missed my manners. I should have said this or asked you this from the very beginning. Where can people find you? Where can people hear you? And where can people read you on websites, blogs, or social media?
Sure. They can catch me Monday through Friday at urbanfamilytalk.com. That's urbanfamilytalk.com. And that's 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. It's a 2-hour show. It's titled Lion Chasers. And we broadcast both over the internet via IP and also via radio towers across the country. We are a ministry outreach of American Family Association, American Family Radio, which is one of the largest Christian radio networks in the nation, with some of their neighborhood of 200 radio stations across the country.
That's darn impressive. That is very impressive. Now, I went to your social media sites. By the way, folks, just to reiterate, you want to listen to Lonnie Poindexter, urbanfamilytalk.com, just as he indicated. And he's also on Facebook, Lion Chasers Radio with Lonnie Poindexter. And I went through a bunch of your social media. And, okay, here we go. Also with Twitter. And if you want to converse with Lonnie Poindexter, it's at The Lion Chasers on Twitter. But you had an article that you covered on a bit of your social media, and it said you featured an article about a $750 million U.S. steel plant in Gary, Indiana, coming back because of Trump's tariffs on imported steel.
Yes.
And I read that and I thought, but wait, that just can't be right, because I thought Barack Hussein Obama insisted that none of these jobs would ever return. And an interesting thing about Gary, Indiana, by the way, is that these aren't jobs, folks. The bulk of the people in Gary, Indiana are black. And these are darn good paying jobs where people can labor, create steel. I'm a railroad aficionado, Lonnie Poindexter. I go out and I look at new rail that gets put down all across California because that's where I live. There hasn't been one piece of American-made rail since, and rail is stamped, by the way, since the 60s. It's all Nippon steel. So we can't even make steel ourselves. Well, that's changing. And I think that's also an indicator of how things are turning now. Hispanic families, there's more employment for them. Black families, there's more employment for them. Donald John Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, is changing things. And as you indicated from the very beginning, when we first started talking to each other, the people in D.C., they don't like that. And you're exactly right. It's both sides of the aisle. And let me go back just a bit. We got about 2 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. Bottom of the hour break will break for about 5 minutes and come right back after that. You were talking about you had a calling to go to D.C. What was that like? Why did you decide, okay, I'm in Los Angeles, I've had this terrible thing occur to me, and now I'm pointed to D.C.? How did you field that?
It was, I would like to say it was one of these epiphanical things, and I'll go, and, Lord stuck his hand down out of the clouds. It was basically a continuum of events that took place that brought me to the conclusion that that's where he wanted me to be. After the computer company that I helped to co-found imploded, my career took off in high tech, and that's when I started working for the Silicon Valley companies. And so for about 15, 20-year career in Silicon Valley, where the money was good and the stock options were better and life was great, and then all of a sudden God has my attention and wants me to do something else. Well, I was like, don't bother me now, Lord. I'm busy making thousands of dollars. And so when that began to dry up, then I began to have my epiphany about, okay, let me look and see what I can really do here. And I discovered that once I got here, that I could be of use here in D.C. amongst the community of those who have your and my collective worldview. And for your listeners out there, do not be discouraged. I know media looks like that they've got this thing all wrapped up, but I'm here to tell you that, they're screaming, jumping up and down, and so forth, because people of faith, common sense America has been awakened, the sleeping giant, and is pushing back. And there's some iconic individuals here in Washington, D.C., that sit on Capitol Hill, like your Ted Cruz, Trey Gowdy, and many others that have been working to right the ship called America. We just didn't see it being Donald J. Trump. But isn't it amazing, because he's not a part of the cabal, that's the establishment cabal, that he's making policy that largely aligns with our belief systems.
And with that, we're going to take a break. Folks, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are talking to Lonnie Poindexter of Lion Chasers, and we're going to be right back after this break. And again, you've opened a door to so many questions, Lonnie Poindexter. Man, I've got a ton of them. So folks, please continue listening. Don't go anywhere. Pretty please. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny, on shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday, live and direct on the SHR Media Network, shrmedia.com. Be there.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's no surrender ever, because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider
the
thingies. Those
what?
Things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on shrmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you
Against
go.
tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello. I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires, due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network, to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists. BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. Just as the person that I'm speaking to tonight, Lonnie Poindexter, is just a few miles from the capital of the entire nation. We are broadcasting roughly 2 miles from the locus of evil on the entire left coast. That's right. That's the Bill Mill, the capital of California in Sacramento, where on nights such as this, you can kind of take a big breath, and if the wind is in the proper direction, you can literally smell the sulfur and brimstone issuing forth from the Capitol building here in California. Now, as I indicated, we are talking to Lonnie Poindexter, who is from D.C., went to D.C., had a great career, had a little bit of an issue in Southern California with a business, and the lovely state of California, who we love the state of California, to make fun of it, actually, because this is the center of the most ridiculous stuff you can think of. If you can think of it, California wants to do it. It's a way crazy state. However, having said that, Lonnie Poindexter felt a calling, if you will, went to D.C. and figured that he can do a lot more good for urban black families in D.C. than he ever could in Silicon Valley, though he was making great buckage. We've had some people come out as incredibly stellar figures these days. I would submit that, Lonnie Poindexter, you're one of them, because you're fighting for basically conservatism, and as you indicate, it doesn't matter what comes, from the factory, from the paint shop, so to speak. What matters is that you're fighting for the right thing. There's an audio cut that I'd like to play from you from what I would consider to be one of the strongest people who is fighting currently in D.C., and what she said was this: why does the left hate me? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Because the government has played the part of drug dealer to black Americans. And I'm offering the addicts what she says is sobriety. Well, this is Candace Owens.
The goal is to have a meaningful discussion about race in this country and to actually have a meaningful discussion about what's going on in the black community. And everyone refuses to do it. They hate that I'm actually talking about the real statistics. They hate that I'm actually telling the truth, which is that black America was doing better between 1940 and 1950 when Jim Crow laws were in place than we are doing today. How is that possible? Asking the question offends them. I'm not even allowed to ask the question. I'm open to hearing the answer, but the truth is there is no answer. There is no meaningful answer that they can give me. Because what they did is they grew government. They treated black people like heroin addicts. We keep thinking the government is going to solve our problems when in fact the government created them.
And you found that out, well, in a first-person kind of situation through that. To have the strength of a Candace Owens to be confronted in a restaurant, which is the cool thing to do right now by leftists, is to try to brace conservatives. The paint job doesn't matter to leftists. Some of the biggest, baddest, most foolish racists in the country, as far as I'm concerned, are all the ridiculous people that are white, that are members of Antifa. These days, Lonnie Poindexter, it is literally right out of 1984. Left is right, up is down. It's hard to quantify this stuff, and that's why we need strong people like you. We need strong people like Candace Owens. God bless that you found your calling, because this is what you're fighting. I think I'm finally getting it. This is the incredible world that we live in now. It's so hard to figure out, where did we lose our way? You know, I'm searching. Where did we lose our way, Lonnie Poindexter?
Well, first of all, let me state that Candace Owens represents that next generation of common sense Americans who happen to be black that are rising up, and it gives me encouragement, that we're going to win this battle. She is fearless, as a young lady, to stand up against the opposition that she's catching. I know what it feels like. You get called everything but a child of God when you grow up against the liberal regressive juggernaut that is driving this anti-God agenda, trying to destroy America. White liberals are the worst kind of racist. Only a white liberal.
I agree completely.
A white liberal has the audacity to stand up and call a black American an Uncle Tom or a sellout. And I find that, in one sense, it's funny to me. In another sense, it incenses you where you want to actually want to do harm against them. But, you can't do that. Our particular side, we know we win. We just need to continue to stand up and speak truth. We catch it all the time here in Washington, D.C. I used to work for Star Parker's Social Policy Center here in Washington, D.C. In fact, that's how I got to Washington back in 2012.
Okay.
And watching the barrage of obscenities hurled at her, and she's been in this movement for 20-some-odd years, it gave me a good old-fashioned ounce of what you're up against. And let me point something out here. You're probably familiar with the Heritage Foundation, one of the preeminent social policy centers here in D.C.,
yes.
Also Family Research Council, and there's some others, Media Resource Center and others. Heritage Foundation has what they call the Mari Institute. I forget what the acronym stands for. Dr. Patrick Fagan heads up the institute, and what they do is they do demographic studies on America, and they break it down via race, socioeconomic class, the whole 9 yards. His predictions about and observations about what's happening in the black community are prophetic. They're not unlike Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who back in the 60s predicted what is happening today in black America, where you have 70+% of black households or single parent, typically female head of household. Well, brother, I've been around long enough that I remember when it wasn't like that. Prior to the mid-1960s, those numbers and statistics were the exact opposite. 70-some-odd% of black households were intact two-parent family units with the man at home and the head of household. So what has happened in the last 50, 60 years is this evil agenda, otherwise called entitlement programs, which were rolled out the same time that the Voting Rights Act was passed in 1964. The next year, they passed the entitlement programs from LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, called Great Society, and they began to unravel the black community. I saw it happen in the community where I lived. I saw in my neighborhood, you could count on one hand in the entire neighborhood how many single-parent families were in the entire neighborhood. On one hand. Today, you wouldn't have enough hands to count how many broken families are in that same neighborhood. So what took place? The implementation of those entitlement programs. So Dr. Patrick Fagan said this in his statistics, and this one's going to blow your away. Southeast Washington, D.C., which is called Anacostia, right across the river from the White House,
right,
is a largely black enclave. 89.5, I think either 5 or 6%, 89% of black households in Anacostia, D.C., that's Southeast D.C., are single-parent, typically female head of household. That's nearly complete systemic breakdown in the black family. That's huge. So here's what he said. Let me finish my thought here.
Okay.
I'll throw the mic back to you.
Okay.
He said this. and at all the statistics and folks want information, just go to heritagefoundation.org and just type in Dr. Fagan, and his information will come up. I asked him, because he's participated in many of the events we've had here, and he spoke, and I said, these statistics that you see, why do you care? And he says, well, I'm from Ireland, and he's white Irish Catholic, so he looks Irish. And he says, I saw the same events taking place in Ireland, so I made it my life study when I got here to the States and decided to stay after I did graduate studies. I said, okay, but why do you care so much? He said, Lonnie, so goes the black community, so goes America. He said, Lonnie, slavery, Jim Crow, KKK, separate but equal, all those heinous things that were done to the black community did not break the black community. In fact, the black community survived, in many instances thrived, in spite of second-class citizenship. He said, but entitlement programs and this great society and the government, which Star Parker calls the new daddy, has been the unraveling of the black community. So if the black community can survive slavery, but cannot survive this particular thing with these programs, it's just that we are the petri dish or the canaries in the mine shaft for what will take place in America in general. So they were test marketing this socialism and this liberal ideology on the black community. Now they've rolled it across America, and save for this brash New Yorker being elected president, they were well on their way to accomplishing their goal.
You went exactly where my next question was going to be, but you anticipated it because you're a highly educated individual. And that's this. I was going to ask you. You answered the question. In my opinion, because I'm not a young guy anymore, I lived through all of that stuff. In my opinion, it was LBJ's Great Society that turned everything upside down and was paying for black fathers to not be engaged in a family unit. It's the left that destroyed the once, as you point out, the once incredibly nuclear black family, the strong family. And again, as you point out, if black families are strong, all the other families can be strong. We can all be united together and fight the foes in the United States. But when you fracture an entire strata of people, I look to Chicago, for example, and man, I can tell you, Lonnie Poindexter, so many things are going through my brain housing group right now, but essentially just in the streets of Chicago, we're having a series of mass killings every weekend, and no one cares. Rahm Emanuel doesn't care. The Democrats don't care. The administrative people in Cook County in Illinois, they don't care. Chicago PD, I'm almost speechless. I'm of the opinion, though I can tell you that I don't have any contacts in Chicago PD. That's one of the few places I don't. That my guess would be, like many of the police departments here in California, they have been told that they are over-policing and that they are to back off various communities. Mm-hmm. Now, when was it? Maybe Lonnie Poindexter, you're a very knowledgeable individual now. Perhaps you can tell me the time, the day, and the date that black communities were no longer deserving of any kind of police protection. Was it 2005? Was it 1986? I am bereft of that answer. I cannot answer. But so many in the left, or what I call the LDAM, I guess Chicago just doesn't deserve any police protection, to the point where many people in the administration have said, you know what, I think this is a great idea. Let's just defund Chicago PD, because what they're working on right now just is so effective. So we've got about 10 minutes left. We've been all over the map. Negative, negative, negative. No, let's not go negative. Let's go positive. You're working in D.C., is a positive example as a role model for so many other people. So let's go positive now. Let's end this thing on a positive fashion. You're right in the pit of vipers. And being I talk to Ken McClinton all the time. I talk to him every Monday night. And he and I go back to 2016 when we met at Freedom Fest. Ken is a great dude.
Yes.
But Ken has told me, and I'm sure you have a like number, if not more, stories of what it has cost him personally to make his stand as a conservative. Not just in some sort of generic, well, yeah, I know it's tough kind of way, but it has cost him friendships, associations, good and friendly people that he once knew. And I would wager the same thing has occurred with you as well, just because you're a conservative and not a leftist. And your paint job, as far as everybody else is concerned, once you were sort of cloaked with that C word, you became the N word. The trials and tribulations that you have seen for doing that, Ken, and all other people like you who are working in a positive fashion. So let's go positive. What are some of the positive things that you're seeing and some of the people that you're reaching through your radio show?
Thank you so much for that. There's many, many things that are taking place, and as I tell our listeners, and you know this as well, that as you sit as a watchman on the wall and profess truth, and sometimes you feel like you're alone in the wilderness, but there are others that are hearing it. There is a movement taking place across this great nation. It's based on having shared values and a biblical worldview, and as we beat the drum for righteousness and truth, Brother Ken certainly has paid a tremendous price, and me as well. He's been doing it longer than I have as well, but we're encouraged because I meet some of the most wonderful, wonderful people. There are initiatives and programs being rolled out. This president, the unlikely president that was elected, who'd have thought that he would have a heart of David, as it will, in terms of doing the right thing with the policies that are coming out, the tax plan that was done, and the opportunity zones that are looking to happen in inner city communities where they're going to attract businesses to come back to locales like Gary, Indiana, and reestablish businesses. And as I'm sure you know, any nation that can't make its own steel is not a nation that's going to be around any length of time.
Exactly.
Those things are taking place. And so I'm encouraged by that. And also from the feedback, I just attended a conference in Tupelo, Mississippi over the weekend where people from all walks of life and every color in the rainbow descended on this Marriage, Family, and Life conference to talk about some of the things that we are discussing this evening. And it was a beautiful thing to see a sea of people of all color and ethnicity all joined together based upon common beliefs and values. America is not a divided nation. Do not believe what the left is telling you.
Thank you.
While they scream the division and divisiveness and racism, America goes about being what America's always been, with people coming together because of like values.
You spoke away recently, and I think we got about 8 minutes left. You spoke recently with the Walkaway Robinsons recently on your radio show.
Yeah.
Who are they, and what did they reveal to you, Lonnie Poindexter?
They were just a regular family, a regular couple that had enough and decided they wanted to say something, just what Americans are. And they decided to do it within the form of social media, and the rest is history. Just like, what was the other gentleman named down in North Carolina that spoke at the city council meeting, and it went viral. And next thing you know, he's on Hannity and on Fox and everything. And the gentleman, he's a fireman, his wife's a homemaker, and they had just had enough. And so he said he's not walk away, Lonnie. I've never been a part of my values have always been what they've been. His wife, it took a little bit longer for her to figure it out, and she finally walked away. But they spoke common sense, brother. They spoke common sense, and it really, I tell you, it resonated with me, and it emboldened me. I'm telling you, there's a sea of people out there doing exactly that. Do not look to traditional news and media for your truth about current events. Look to shows like yours, shows like mine. Look to the Christian faith-based community. Go give you a fair and accurate depiction on the true lay of the land.
The Walkaway Robinsons, and for those people who are unaware, there's a big hashtag out on Twitter these days, hashtag Walkaway. And specifically what that means is it's an advocacy. I can't think of the guy that started the hashtag, but it's essentially an advocacy for, have you had enough of the Democrats? Have you had enough of leftists? Have you had enough of the American media maggots? Well, maybe it's time to just walk away from the Democrat Party and try something new. Try a new experience. Try being a conservative. You don't have to necessarily sign up for the GOP, but you can be a conservative individual because the basic fundamental foundational question is this. What is it really, Lonnie Poindexter, that the Democrat Party has done for the black community or the black family? And I don't mean to focus specifically on the black family, but you can't avoid it because they've gone out of the way to, in my opinion, decimate the once nuclear black family. We shouldn't have to say these things. We shouldn't have to have these discussions in 2018.
I agree, brother. They've looked to turn the black community into a permanent dependent class, you know, where it looks to each and every edict, if you will, from daddy government. And it's really interesting. Before the entitlement programs and WIC and welfare and all those types of things, the black community looked to itself for its support and survival throughout America, just like the unique American experience that makes us all Americans.
Yeah. And
the centerpiece of the black community was the church. And, you know, every great move in America, every great movement of God, if I can be more specific, in America took place in and of the church, starting with the founding of this nation, to the Civil War, to the movement, and now this new battle lines is the battle for religious freedoms. Because, as I'm sure you know, if you can restrict folks' religious freedoms, you can drive the church underground. If you drive the church underground, you can change this nation. But see, there's a rebellious streak within Americans. It's just right within our DNA. Think about how we said we had enough of merry old England and kicked their fannies out of the U.S. to establish this nation that became the most powerful nation in the world. And what are we, 240 years old? So we got furniture in Europe older than we are. And we're still the preeminent power. That's because we're a nation built upon a Judeo-Christian ethic where anybody can make it and be successful here. And that's why everybody is trying to get here, whether they're swimming across a river, sneaking in baggage, or whatever they're trying to do to get here. And it's because America is that shining city on a hill.
That's a perfect transition. You must have been in my brain housing group just for a moment, because what I was going to say and end the show with for this segment is, I wonder why now the LDAM, leftists, Democrats, and American media maggots are embracing just hot and cold running illegal immigration. And may I throw this theory out to you, Lonnie Poindexter, and you tell me if I'm even remotely, incrementally correct on this. It's because the leftists and the Democrats have finally discovered through the hashtag #WalkAway and all sorts of other circumstances that the once nuclear black family, you are not reliable anymore. You are not efficient anymore. You are apparently not the monolithic voting bloc that you once were. You were producing for them. And now, darn you, you're looking like you may not be producing for much longer. So we need to embrace another monolithic voting bloc. And it ain't you.
That's for sure, brother. The recent Rasmussen poll points to 36% of the black community sees Donald Trump as favorable and would pull the lever for him if there was an election today. That, my brother, is huge.
29%.
Go back to when he was elected.
Oh, yeah.
It was single digits. So something's taking place. They're looking for a new constituency. We know that. You and I know that. That's what the whole DACA thing is about. They want a new voting bloc. But not on my shift, brother, and I know not on yours.
No. And probably, let me also throw this out if I might, Donald Trump was not my guy in 2016. Ted Cruz was my guy. I was not much interested in the dude with the dead orange cat on top of his head until everyone else fell by the wayside, and I found that there was something within him that resonated, and it resonated with a lot of people. So I figured, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to vote for him because, number one, he's not Hillary Clinton. And number two,
yes.
And number two, I fervently believe that he's going to clean up SCOTUS. Any thoughts on your end from that, Lonnie Poindexter?
Yeah, you're right in my playbook. That was the same thing. Cruz was my guy. I looked at Ben Carson as well because he's actually a friend. And
how nice, how great.
And so, ultimately, it was kind of like, and here's the deal. I got phone calls from pastors who told me to reconsider and to consider Donald Trump. Pastors called me.
Really?
Yes. And one pastor out of Ohio who is a successful businessman in the automotive industry said, I know the type, Lonnie Poindexter. I said, those guys, he said, they're gruff. He said, they can be brash. He said, but they're honorable.
Yep.
He said, what they say they're going to do, they're going to do. And between my conversation with him and a couple of other clergy, I made the switch. And I got to tell you, I lost a third of my followers on social media when I did that.
Hey, I don't doubt that for a moment. I mean, I've lost friends and acquaintances who absolutely, Lonnie Poindexter, they have nothing to do with me anymore. They will not have anything to do with me in a radio venue as they used to. On social media, they won't take my phone calls because I just supported and voted for Donald Trump. One final question again. Where can people find you? Where can they hear you? Where can they see you? And where can people find you on social media?
They can find me Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern at our urbanfamilytalk.com. That's urbanfamilytalk.com. The name of the show is Lion Chasers with Lonnie Poindexter. We talk about the intersection between faith and public policy. You can also catch me in social media at Lonnie Poindexter. I think I might have a few slots left on my friend page. But I've got plenty of room on my fan page, and that's Lion Chasers Radio with Lonnie Poindexter. You'll find most of my commentary there. You also can go to urbanfamilytalk.com, and I've got written commentary there on that website. And a new outreach, which was contentofcharacterseries.com. That's contentofcharacterseries.com, which is a new launch from last year, where we're taking this message that you and I hold near and dear, and we're taking it to urban communities throughout America. And we had 3 events so far this year, and we have another 2 scheduled before the end of the year, and we're building momentum and changing hearts and minds and looking to right this ship called America.
Absolutely correct. Lonnie Poindexter, thank you ever so kindly for being here tonight in the Saloon. I know it's late where you are, and I appreciate the time that you took to be here live and direct. I would love to have you back. Would you consider that sometime, sir?
Anytime, brother. Sounds like you're a night owl like I am, so we're both up at the same time.
I pretty much am. Folks, you've been listening to Lonnie Poindexter, a Lion Chaser, and thank you, sir, for being here. I say take care, God bless, and be safe, sir.
All righty.
Good night.
Good night.
Folks, that was Lonnie Poindexter, a Lion Chaser. You know where to go to find him, to listen to his radio show. I thank him ever so much for being here tonight. We're going to take a break and come back with a slight different direction, but not entirely.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m., right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider
what?
thingies.
The
Those
what?
things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on shrmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you go.
Against tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we had the pleasure and the distinct honor of speaking to Lonnie Poindexter, a man who found his calling, a black conservative. He's paid a heavy price for that, and he's going to continue to do it cheerfully, I would wager, just like my other good friend, Ken McClinton. I'm on Ken's show every Monday, and you want to listen? You should do it. You should listen to Lonnie Poindexter. He's on Monday through Friday. I think he said 11 a.m. Now, that would be Eastern time, every day of the week. What a great guy, and I thank him ever so much for being on the air with me. Just when you think, I can get caught up in this as well. Just when you think that everything is terrible, everything is mean and nasty, there's no way back. We've lost our direction. We are rudderless. You talk to an individual like Lonnie Poindexter, and you realize, as a matter of fact, no, that's not how these things work. That we are not rudderless. This is a temporary situation that we can right. I believe we can right it. I'm not making any prediction whatsoever in terms of time or means or manner, but I think we can right the ship. I think we can stop flooding. We can stop the flooding in the compartments. I think we have to activate more pumps. And certainly we're not on an even keel right now. I don't think we're in necessarily immediate danger of capsizing, although depending upon the day, I guess you might think that. But that's exactly why we need to talk to people like Lonnie Poindexter and realize what it is that he's doing for. And you could say, yeah, okay, his community, his paint job, etc. But no, it's further than that, because he has the greater overarching umbrella that he's looking at. He's looking at the fact that, and this is no mistake, someday I'll tell you my view on religion. Today's not the day. But I have a distinct view on religion. But essentially what he's saying is that, you know what? All these rights and liberties and freedoms that we enjoy, they're provided by God and not by the government. Lonnie Poindexter discovered that immediately when it slammed right into the side of his face. That great state of California government. Wow. So, I guess in conclusion, God bless Lonnie Poindexter, and thank God for people like him. However, that being said,
it's time for happy stories and good times.
Well, you might want to start with this. When I heard this, I thought, oh, if this isn't the largest piece of schadenfreude that I've read in quite some time, I enjoyed it, so I thought you'll enjoy it. And that's this. This is from the Daily Caller. It says, CNN falls to the History Channel in primetime ratings. CNN suffered another humiliating defeat in the cable ratings during the week of August 6th. Through August 12th, according to Nielsen Media Research. Cable news competitors Fox News and MSNBC wiped the floor with CNN, and Fox News Channel finishing first in average primetime viewers and more than doubling CNN's primetime ratings. But CNN is so important, right? CNN is our life's blood. Fox News reached 2.18 million primetime viewers, while MSNBC finished second with 1.75 million, and CNN finished seventh with just 992,000 average viewers for the week. This is not in the article, but I'm going to tell you this anyway. There's a new channel on Dish, and I don't know if it's coming to DirecTV or any of the other cable channels, but even this brand new channel, which is 24-hour, and it's pretty cool. You can only take maybe about 5 or 10 minutes of it, but the Tibetan bell-ringing channel, even, that kicked the slats out of CNN. Here's the second happy story. This is from The Verge. Ooh, Netflix looks like maybe it's in trouble a little bit. Netflix cancels its talk shows starring Michelle Wolf and Joel McHale. No, the streaming company is struggling to establish a hit talk show. Netflix has canceled The Break with Michelle Wolf and The Joel McHale Show with Joel McHale. Neither of the talk shows will make it to a second season. Their brief runs, brief run. I think her show ran for maybe 35 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. Their brief runs are the latest example of Netflix's struggle to deliver a show in the format that can draw eyes and maintain regular viewership. This is just a carbon copy of Air America, if anybody is familiar with that. Lovely, lovely network. Anyway, the company ended Chelsea Handler's weekly talk show, its first real foray into the genre, last October after 2 seasons. So you gotta be asking yourself a question. Kind of like Jack Nicholson, I guess. You gotta ask yourself a question. What is it about leftist thought and philosophy that really doesn't engage with the bulk of America? And what was it really about Michelle Wolf that anybody, and I mean anybody, happened to find funny? Because I got to tell you, I didn't find her funny. Well, okay, I guess certain people think that this tone of voice and the words she's saying right now, that this is an absolute laugh riot. This is the White House press conference thingy, and Michelle Wolf, hey, I could listen to that voice for hours and hours and hours, couldn't you?
And of course we have Sarah Huckabee Sanders. We are graced with Sarah's presence tonight. I have to say I'm a little starstruck. I love you as Aunt Lydia on The Handmaid's Tale. Mike Pence, if you haven't seen it, you would love it. Every time Sarah steps up to the podium, I get excited because I'm not really sure what we're going to get.
By the way, I just thought I should tell you that Sarah Huckabee Sanders is immediately to Michelle Wolf's left.
You know, a press briefing, a bunch of lies, or divided into softball teams. It's shirts and skins, and this time don't be such a little bitch, Jim Acosta.
Okay, I think I've had enough of her. Haven't you too? I bet you have. Speaking of audio cuts, and unfortunately, God, there were so many questions that I had for Lonnie Poindexter, and so many areas I wanted to go, so many places I wanted to take the show. I couldn't do it then, but now I can. Here's somebody that you need to hear, because this passes for a great joke. We just had Michelle Wolf tell just a series of real knee slappers, and here's Democrat Representative Alcee Hastings. Here's what he considers to be a fine joke, carefully honed for his audience.
I'll tell you one joke that I learned from Ari Silver, whose father is a former state legislator and is a rabbi, Barry Silver. But Ari asked the audience the other night in Palm Beach County, he said, do you know the difference between a crisis and a catastrophe? And no one held their hand, so Ari answered for us. He says, a crisis is if Donald Trump falls into the Potomac River and can't swim. And he says, and a catastrophe is anybody saves his ass.
Now that is just some funny shite, isn't it? Hell yeah, it is. That's some great stuff. And the leftists kept it coming. And, you know, all kinds of paint jobs too, right?
We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. We have not reached greatness.
Right.
We will reach greatness when every American is fully engaged.
Engaged. What the hell does that mean? And the answer is, there is no real answer. Now, remember, we were told, everyone insisted, and still the LDAM do this to the very same, every day, every week, every month, they say, you can't have ID for voting because it disenfranchises all the poor black people that can't take care of their own stuff. They don't know how to work.
I'm Ami Horowitz, and I'm here in Berkeley, California, to find out if
listen.
voter ID laws suppress the black vote.
Now, what is he doing? He's going to Berkeley, California to talk to white people about suppression of blacks by voter ID laws. Isn't that's a great idea. So let's go onto the Berkeley campus and let's have him grab some people.
Yeah, they're usually pretty racist and they're bad.
I think voter ID laws are a way to perpetuate racism.
Would you say would you go as far as say those laws are racist?
For sure.
Do you think it suppresses the African American vote?
Definitely.
White.
Because they're less likely to have state IDs.
Minority voters are less likely to have the kinds of IDs that have been described or required.
Okay, what these people are saying is that blacks are gibbering idiots.
These type of people don't live in...
That's BZ doing left speak translations for you.
Areas with easy access to DMVs or other places where they can get identification.
You can always get IDs do over the internet.
Okay.
That also would
stop
make it
just
difficult?
for a second. I got to play this over again for you. This little young turd couldn't be more condescending if he tried. Oh, so go ahead and try.
These type of people don't live in areas with easy access
These type of people
to DMVs or other places where they can get identification.
You can always get IDs do over the internet.
Jesus.
That also would make it difficult for black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
Do you think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works.
They don't have the knowledge. They, translated BZ, they meaning blacks, don't have the knowledge of the internet. Again, they're gibbering idiots.
A lot of people have smartphones, but you might not have data. For most of the communities, they don't really know what is out there just because they're not aware or they're not informed.
They're not aware, they're not informed. They don't have phones. Come on, they're living in caves. They're huddled around cooking fires.
I think there's a repression of black voting with how if you're a convicted felon, you're not allowed to vote and everything. And when you look at swing states like Florida, that's a huge population of the African Americans.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm here in East Harlem to ask black people their thoughts on what you just heard.
Now, what do you think this is going to reveal?
Do you have ID normally? You carry ID around?
Yes, I have state ID.
Do you carry ID?
Yes, I do.
That's a black
Do you
woman.
know any black person who doesn't carry ID?
No.
That's a
Everyone
black
that I
woman.
know has an ID. Why would they think we don't have ID?
That's a lie.
That's a black woman.
Say that.
Do you have ID?
Yes.
Because I have my ID and my friends have their ID, so like, we know what we need to carry around.
Everybody that I know have ID. Like, that's one of the things you need to walk around with New York with, ID.
Do you know any black adult who does not have ID?
No, I don't.
Is it a weird thing to even say that?
Yes, it is.
What is this, some type of trick candy camera?
I know, right? That's the only thing I brought with me.
Those are legit IDs. I heard a lot also that black people can't figure out how to get to the DMV.
Really?
What does that say to you?
I know it's that, on 25th Street.
Do you know where the DMV is around you?
It's on 125th Street and 3rd Avenue, I believe.
You know how to get there?
Yeah.
Would you have a problem getting there if you had to get there?
No.
I know these sound like silly questions. You know how to...
You should see the look on these faces of people. Why are you asking me these stupid damn questions?
Get DMV?
Of course.
You know where it is?
Yes.
You can get there?
Uh-huh.
No problem.
No problem.
Just checking.
Okay.
And I also heard a lot that black people, especially poor black people, have no access to the internet, can't figure out how to use the internet.
That's just stupidity, honestly. Everybody has access to the internet. Even a little kid can figure out how to work the internet.
I had access to the internet for years.
You know how to use it properly, right?
Exactly. I do it at work. So, of course, I know how to use it. My kids know how to use it. They all have iPads, iPods, whatever.
Your phone has data?
Mm-hmm.
You can access
Unlimited.
Unlimited data?
Mm-hmm. I use my phone as a hotspot.
What does that say to you for the people who have this perception of black people?
They're pretty much ignorant. That's what my thought process on it.
I just think that's ignorant. Ignorant.
Ignorant. That's the word I'm hearing a lot.
Ignorant.
Ignorant.
Very, very ignorant.
Does it sound racist for somebody to say that?
I think it is a little racist because, you know, you're putting people in...
Wait. She's calling white leftists, young white leftists, Caucasoids in Berkeley racists. Guess what? She happens to be right.
Category, and you have no idea what you're talking about.
Maybe a little bit of racist in it, but like I said, I think it's more stupidity and ignorance.
You judging somebody, like, but you judging them because they black, saying that they don't got it.
What people are they talking to? Who are these people talking to?
Do you have a problem that if you go to vote and they say, "Can we please see your ID to make sure you are who you say you are"? Are you
Love
cool?
showing my ID.
You have no problem with that?
Nope.
Would you have a problem if when you go to vote, if they say, "Can we please just see your ID to make sure you are who you say you are"? Do you have an issue with that?
No.
Would you have a problem if there was a rule where you have to show your ID in order to vote?
I don't think so. No.
Would you have an issue if there was a rule saying you got to show your ID before you vote?
Nah.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I posit once more, who are the racists? Where are they? Oh, that's right. They're the people on the left. And they're white people like, Antifa, who are exactly what they're the opposite of what they say. They're anti-fascists? No, they're some of the most fascists, some of the most concrete fascists around. We're going to talk about social media for a while, and we're going to wrap up towards the end with a little bit of information, especially today, about some stories regarding illegal immigration. As you suspect, Facebook, Twitter, all the left-wing leaning social media sites are throttling the thoughts and phrases and opinions of people on the right. It's gone way far than you think, to the point now where it's actually interfering with people and their ability to get a message out for politicians. Here's a story from Breitbart. Midterm meddling. Twitter follows Facebook, blacklists a GOP candidate's family story. And this is going to harken back to Lily Tang Williams, who came from communist China, fled to America because she wants and wanted freedom. She's a libertarian now. She ran for Senate in Colorado. And she said, sadly, the same things that I left communist China for, I'm starting to see rise here. Well, let's see. Who was this GOP candidate that all the social media decided that they had to suppress? Oh, that's right. It's Elizabeth Heng for Congress. Oh, darn it. She's an Asian, but that's okay. That's okay. Twitter has followed in Facebook's footsteps by blocking a campaign video ad for Republican congressional candidate Elizabeth Heng. Facebook eventually admitted that a campaign video including the communist atrocities in Cambodia is not shocking, disrespectful, or sensational, but Twitter, which they described the ad as obscene, disagrees. So shortly after Facebook came under fire for refusing to allow Republican congressional candidate Elizabeth Heng to advertise with a campaign ad on the platform, Twitter did the same thing. They made the same decision. Facebook blocked the ad, which shared the story of she was just sharing the story of her family, the Heng family, being forced to flee Cambodia for the United States of America, claiming that Facebook couldn't allow videos that contained shocking, disrespectful, or sensational imagery on their advertising platform. The ad was eventually approved, with a Facebook spokesman stating, "Upon further review, it is clear the video contains historical imagery relevant to the candidate's story. We've since approved the ad and is now running on Facebook." That's a decision that apparently Twitter disagrees with. And now here's an individual who said, let's just name names, obviously a Democrat. Senator Chris Murphy, a Democrat from Connecticut, is calling on other tech companies to ban more sites like InfoWars and says, quote, "The survival of American democracy depends on it." So let's see. The survival of American democracy revolves around censorship and revolves around essentially the removal wholesale of the First Amendment. I don't know. Maybe I'm just desperately wrong, but I could have sworn that pesky First Amendment is, oh, that's right, it's the First Amendment. So let's see, it must be the First Amendment because it's the most important amendment in the Bill of Rights. Does that one have anything to do with it? He continues, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut. InfoWars is the tip of a giant iceberg of hate and lies that uses sites like Facebook and YouTube to tear our nation apart. These companies must do more than take down one website. The survival of our democracy depends on it. And that's what he tweeted a couple of Mondays ago. The very survival of our democracy depends on it. Now, if you ever happen to read Powerline, they used to be really huge. And let's see, I got about 3 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. John Hinderaker writes for Powerline, and he wrote this: how the left is outsourcing censorship of the internet. Liberals control every newspaper in America, as far as I know, except the Manchester Union Leader. They control CBS, ABC, NBC, and every cable network except Fox News. They control what is left of the news magazines and pretty much every other magazine, too. Only talk radio and that darn pesky internet is still outside their grip. So that's where they seek to impose censorship. And that's absolutely correct. They cannot compete in the open mind area of ideas and thoughts. Make a good idea, craft a good opinion, offer your thoughts, and let's roll it out there. And if you can make some money doing that and thinking that way, great. Air America, no, not so much. But they have a problem. That First Amendment. The government can't suppress conservative speech on the ground that it's hate speech, i.e. something that liberals don't like. That was recently reaffirmed, by the way, don't know if you remember it or not recently, by a 9-0 decision of the Supreme Court. Oh, no, that darn Supreme Court, which needs to be eliminated, just voted 9-0 to support the First Amendment. So liberals have outsourced censorship of the internet to the tech titans of Silicon Valley. Unfortunately, most political conversations these days occur not on the free internet, where independent sites like Powerline reside, but rather on social media like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on. Other players include Google in its search capacity, Apple, Pinterest, Spotify, etc. Happily, if you're a leftist, then all of these tech companies are run by liberals, and because they are private companies, they are not constrained by the First Amendment. They can constrict or restrict or ban conservative communications on the grounds that they are hate speech, or on no grounds whatsoever, with impunity. How many people out there, by the way, have been either shadow banned, like me, on Twitter, or told, the SHR network has been told by YouTube and other providers that, by the way, you're on a bit of a timeout. Our timeout was for 60 days. Didn't really go into specifics, and they can just arbitrarily just not talk to you. Here's another example. Got about 30 seconds before the break. This just occurred, and Matt Betley, who is an author, I've spoken to him twice on the show now. I love his stuff. He's written Overwatch and Oath of Honor, a great dude, a recovering alcoholic, served in the U.S. Marines, a squared-away unit. Now, he doesn't have more than about maybe 2,000 followers. So for him, he's noticed that he's losing about 30 to 40 followers a day. And the funny thing is, what's the difference? Oh, that's right. He has... damn him. He has an opinion.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny, on shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny. 11. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you about Matthew Betley. He's an author. He's a Marine. He tends to be a little conservative, too. p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's no surrender ever, because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider
The what?
thingies.
The
Those
what?
things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on shrmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you
Against
go.
tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires, due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network, to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. A conservatarian like myself as a host, providing information and wonder to you. Thanks again to Lonnie Poindexter, a lion chaser himself, who was sufficiently gracious to talk to us for the entire first hour as he was speaking from Washington, D.C., just as we meaning the SHR Media Network, we're 2 miles that way from the locus of evil, the Bill Mill, the capital of California, Sacramento. He's roughly 2 miles away from the D.C. capital and decided that he could do a better job and get more things taken care of if he were to go to essentially D.C. himself, and he did. So thanks again to Lonnie Poindexter. We're talking now about social media and its absolute throttling of free speech. And just, by the way, for those who are not aware, Jack Dorsey is the CEO of Twitter. And something remarkable came out of his pie hole just a couple of days ago.
The question behind the question is, are we doing something according to political ideology or viewpoints? And we are not, period. We do not look at content with regards to political viewpoint or ideology.
Lie. But here comes the best part.
We look at behavior.
Okay, yeah, but what that particular little bit failed to say is we need to constantly show that we are not adding to our own bias, which I fully admit is more left-leaning. Well, wait a minute. See, because if I had a producer after Jack Dorsey would have said, but yeah, we are a little bit more left-leaning, you would have heard,
I mean, I think he's very clear.
But I don't have a producer, so that's not what you heard. Jack Dorsey saying that we do indeed lean left. I need to play this cut for you now because this is Nigel Farage speaking with regard to it, and he has what I consider to be a very unique perspective on social media. And he's saying what we need to do is we need to treat Twitter like a biased publisher and sue. He's on Tucker Carlson.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. I'm Tammy Bruce, filling in for Tucker this evening. It's great to be back with you. You know, it's like the early 2000s again. Rosie O'Donnell has been having another meltdown over Donald Trump.
This guy is in no means mentally stable enough to run this country, and he should be impeached, and every congressman who hasn't filed those articles should lose their job.
Oh, well, there you go. We have more of that just ahead, plus Black Lives Matter crashing a police officer's own wedding.
Parents, I just wonder if you started planning your wedding before you killed stuff.
By the way, this occurred in Sacramento, right here in Sacramento. This is a Sacramento Police Department officer who's having his wedding plans crashed by Black Lives Matter. Oh, in the form of a white person.
Park or after, and how you've been sleeping since March 18th, and I know this is supposed to be the happiest day of your life. He will not have that opportunity ever.
But first, tech companies are taking the lead in suppressing any voices that dissent against the left. In the past few days, Apple, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and other companies have all banned Alex Jones from using their platforms. Also, Twitter purged various libertarian accounts. Instagram temporarily banned Tommy Robinson. Facebook took down a
Stop right there. Stop right there. Facebook and the social media platforms banned liberty. That's the Libertarian Party. That's their platform. Freedom and liberty. Well, we can't have extra doles or helpings of freedom and liberty, can we?
GOP candidates' ads for allegedly being offensive. And Democratic Senator Chris Murphy says mass censorship is needed to ensure, quote, the survival of the democracy, end quote.
Right.
I guess he doesn't realize the irony there. Who's next? Well, on MSNBC, some say Twitter should ban the president.
Trump has insulted someone via...
Oh, by the way, let me stop and insert this right now. I said this numerous times to President Trump. I'll say it to people here. I've said it before. I will continue to say it. I think Trump should abandon Twitter. When Trump abandons Twitter, he will take literally millions of eyeball views and clicks away from Twitter. Where he should go is to the next free platform, Gab, Gab.ai. They've got a kind of a funky interface. Trust me, Gab would kick up its heels in grand. They would do anything and everything they could to attract Donald Trump over to their platform. And so remove Trump from Twitter? Hell yeah, President Trump, go over to Gab. And we'll see how well Twitter does after that.
Twitter at least 487 times. Is there a point in which Twitter says this is a violation of our ethics, we're going to shut you down?
I think there probably is a Rubicon he could cross, but he hasn't crossed it yet, for Twitter at least.
Well, let's have this conversation now. Nigel Farage once led the UK Independent Party and spearheaded the Brexit campaign. He joins us now. Nigel, thanks for coming up with us.
Thank you.
Look, obviously...
This potential policy is beautiful.
Here's the issue. This is nothing new, right? We've seen this happening for quite some time. Even Diamond and Silk is a very good example on Facebook. But you've got an op-ed in USA Today, and you've got a very interesting idea about perhaps how we can start to approach this kind of banning and this assault on conservative ideas on social media. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, Mark Zuckerberg has always claimed that Facebook was a platform for all ideas. Fine. You know, in doing that, he says, I'm not a publisher, I'm just a means of people putting out their messages. You know, whatever you think of Alex Jones and InfoWars, and, you know, you may say, hey, this guy's a bit out there. The point is, he's got a big following, he has an opinion, and if you believe in free speech, if you believe in your First Amendment rights, people should be allowed to do this. I would say that by banning Jones, by shadow banning many others, Facebook and others are now effectively becoming a publisher, and that means, because they're taking editorial decisions, they should be open to being sued as other media organizations are.
Now, I would argue, because, look, we're all looking at how to find some balance.
Brilliant.
Here, because we do clearly see it's unfair. We see ranging from congressmen being shadow banned to celebrities who have the wrong opinions, might be somewhat conservative, that we're trying to find a framework, especially with mainstream media being 85% liberal, and we see that push. But we're the content in social media, which gives us an edge. But let me suggest, though, that some of the...
By the way, if you haven't heard that before, in any form of social media, you are the package. You are what they're selling. They're making money off of you. You are the product. You are the content.
The argument by Twitter, and what they're doing is they're saying that these comments violate their standards. And if we open it up to, let's say, lawsuits for libel, wouldn't it make it even more difficult to have speech? Wouldn't more people be banned? Wouldn't there be more people suspended?
No, because if you're a platform for all ideas, you are not a publisher. That is the point. And what Zuckerberg and the other tech giants are trying to do is they're now trying to have it both ways. On the one hand, they claim, you know, we're not publishers.
Bingo.
We're not open to libel because we let everybody give their opinion. But on the other, they now, in a very sinister way, are starting to ban and shadow ban people. I mean, take, for example, on Facebook, PragerU. an organisation that I've spoken for. I've been to their events. These are not.
They do great work.
They do amazing work.
Yeah.
I mean, their videos have been seen by.
By the way, Prager University on YouTube is one of the most level-headed, intellectual series of videos on topics ranging from men and women and history than any series of videos I can possibly conjure. They're absolutely excellent.
Tens of millions of people. They now, on Facebook, have 88 of their videos that are now very much put to the back of the list. They're very hard to access, including ones on Christianity, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
So we've gone way beyond the bounds. What is needed now is a Bill of Rights for people using the internet. Let's give people access, let's give people rights, and if we can't get that, let's make sure we now redefine Facebook, YouTube and Twitter as publishers who are liable, as are Fox News or the Wall Street Journal or anybody else, to the content they put out.
Yeah, look, again, we've got to find a way to push back. And one of the strengths we have here is that we are the content, right? And there's a sense also that we're willing to put up with anything because our lives now, Nigel, are so intertwined, right? With Twitter, with Facebook, social media in general. Yeah. It is the new modern way to communicate. And my concern, of course, is that we don't want them to go away, and yet, ironically, they're private public companies. They're not a government. They can do as they please. But I think the power is, as an example, this conversation. Our being able to have a point of view and make sure everybody knows exactly what's going on, because since we are the content, we can at least push back and make a difference there. Nigel, thank you.
And that's the point. That's the entire point. If they were actually equitable, if they treated everyone equally, except for people making stupid things like death threats, threatening to kill, advocating the killing or exterminating of people. Bring on the thoughts, baby. Bring on the thoughts. But they're not going to. They're absolutely not going to. Here's something that every once in a while, Bill Maher, he resembles a stopped clock. And I was surprised when he said this. But in retrospect, I have to admire him for having the balls to say what he did on a show that gets tons of leftist viewings.
Not my friend, and who tells crazy lies about me,
he's talking about Alex Jones.
Thrown off Twitter, I think, and Facebook, and a few other platforms. I think he's going to...
Thank God!
Yeah, and there we go. Thank God! And the audience erupts in applause.
Well,
just wait.
If you're a liberal, you're supposed to be for free speech. That's free speech for the speech you hate. That's what free speech means. We're losing the thread of the concepts that are important to this country. Either you care about the real American shit or you don't. And if you do, it goes for every side. I don't like Alex Jones, but Alex Jones gets to speak. Everybody gets to speak.
Sure, but he doesn't necessarily get to speak on Facebook or Twitter.
No, I get...
Now, here's why they're revising their applause, because they didn't think that Bill Maher was going to go this direction. And now he did. And they're applauding because, well, wait a minute, if Bill Maher is actually saying this, then we need to applaud, right?
Yeah, if a guy goes out, and this is not opinion, if he engages in vile slander and fabrication about children who were murdered at Sandy Hook, and he harasses the parents of children who were murdered at Sandy Hook, that's not, you know what?
Number one, he didn't harass them. Number two, that's an opinion. He's a loon frequently, and he's also a stopped clock. Wait, am I saying that he's the counterpart to Bill Maher?
Facebook, Twitter, none of them have an obligation to provide him a platform.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But
and even more importantly, you know, this is not the internet of 1996 where you put up a website and, you know, he's using like the public pipes. Like these companies, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, these are the majority of time Americans spent on the internet, right? We're talking these for the internet. This is ABC, CBS, NBC, right? And they're making money off of him. They're running ads against him. So you know, I agree with you about free speech, and that's of concern to me as well. I also don't think those companies should be profiting off of what he's saying. And so,
but that's how those platforms work. That's how they work. Let me hit you with another article that I'm sure that you didn't hear. And this comes from Reason magazine, reason.com, where it's a libertarian-leaning kind of organization. Their motto is free minds and free markets. And the headline is this. I'm going to give you the information. You're going to have to decide if it's correct. I know what I think. And now I'm going to tell you the story. You make your decision. The headline is, Senate Democrats are circulating plans for government takeover of the Internet. Reason Roundup. Plus testing telemedicine abortion and 30 printed guns, or 3D printed guns. And the article starts like this. All your base are belong to us. A leaked memo circulating among Senate Democrats contains a host of authoritarian proposals for regulating digital platforms, purportedly as a way to get tough on Russian bots and fake news, to save American trust in, quote, our institutions, democracy, free press, and markets, unquote. It suggests we need unprecedented and undemocratic government intervention into online press and markets, including, quote, comprehensive GDPR-like data protection legislation, unquote, of the sort enacted in the EU or the European Union. Titled Potential Policy Proposals for Regulation of Social Media and Technology Firms, the draft policy paper, penned by Senator Mark Warner and leaked by an unknown source to Axios. The paper starts out by noting that Russians have long spread disinformation, including, quote, when the Soviets tried to spread fake news denigrating Martin Luther King. Here he fails to mention that the Americans in charge at the time did the same, but now it's different. Because technology, quote, today's tools seem almost built for Russian disinformation techniques, Warner opines, and the ones to come, he assures us, will be even worse. Here is how Warner is suggesting we deal. Number one, mandatory location verification. The paper suggests forcing social media platforms to authenticate and disclose the geographic origin of all user accounts or posts. So, you say something against Antifa. Did you? By the way, you can go to BZ's address at 1234 South 39th Street. He's usually home during the day because he has a radio show at night. By the way, did I give you his address? And if I can think of it, I'll throw you his phone number too. That'll work well. Number two, mandatory identity verification. The paper suggests forcing social media and tech platforms to authenticate user identities and only allow, quote, authentic accounts. Quote, inauthentic accounts not only pose threats to our democratic process, but undermine the integrity of digital markets, unquote. With failure to appropriately address inauthentic account activity punishable as a violation of both SEC disclosure rules and or Section 5 of the Federal Trade Commission Act. Anonymity? Fuck it. And who does that benefit? Oh, that's right. BZ lives at 123. You see where I'm going with this, I'm guessing. Number three, bot labeling. Warner's paper suggests forcing companies to somehow label bots or be penalized. No word from Warner on how this is even remotely feasible. Number four, define popular tech as essential facilities. These would be subject to all sorts of heightened rules and controls, says the paper, offering Google Maps as an example of the kinds of apps or platforms that might count. The law would not mandate that a dominant provider offer the serve for free, writes Warner. Rather, it would be required to offer it on reasonable and non-discriminatory terms provided by who? By the government. Other proposals include more disclosure requirements for online political speech, more spending to counter supposed cybersecurity threats, more funding for the Federal Trade Commission. Of course, let's expand government every more. Let's expand it ever more. A requirement that companies' algorithms can be audited by the feds. By the way, for a tech company to throw open their their algorithms to the government is like going to Boeing and saying, Boeing, Give us all your information, blueprints, etc., and all your hard work, software and hardware programs that are currently used in the 787 Dreamliner. Give us all of that. And we might make it public, I don't know, but we're going to monitor the crap out of you for that. That's a great idea. The paper also suggests making it a rule that tech platforms above a certain size must turn over internet data and internal data and process to independent public interest researchers. Well, who would sit on that panel and who makes that decision? That's right, once again, government. So that they can identify potential public health addiction effects, anti-competitive behavior, radicalization. Who's a radical in the eyes of leftists? Oh, that's right. People on the left think that people on the right are radicals. So, yeah, we'd be monitored for radicalization, scams, user-propagated misinformation, and harassment, data that could be used to inform actions by regulators or Congress. Stop. Is there anyone besides me thinking that this is a wonderful and delicious way to shut down, essentially, the internet? Well, first it might start with social media, but eventually it would be for the internet. Well, that's what this paper is all about. That all sounds like such a grandiose and wonderful idea, doesn't it? Pfft, of course it does. You bet it does. How long will it be that we still have free speech in this country? I was positive in my talking to Lonnie Poindexter. We need positive messages. But I wish I could say that I was confident that things will remain positive. We have about 5 minutes left, about 3 minutes left for the show. I'm only going to be able to touch on this peripherally because of the time element. Today, Molly Tibbetts, by the way, if you did not know, a person who has said in the past that she hates white people, oddly enough, she's white, was murdered, and her body was found. And it appears that the murder suspect has been ID'd as Christian Rivera, 24 years of age, who is an illegal alien. How long are we going to let illegals kill our sons and daughters?
In the United States, illegally, has been charged with the murder of Molly Tibbetts. Matt Finn has the latest. Matt.
Just a tragic ending to this mystery. Nearly a month after Molly Tibbetts vanished on July 18th, police a short while telling us that 24-year-old Christian Rivera was just charged with first-degree murder in the death of Molly Tibbetts. Investigators tell us that there was a surveillance tape that was crucial in solving this mystery and this crime, a surveillance tape that showed Molly Tibbetts apparently running. They looked at that surveillance tape and apparently saw Christian Rivera in his car or somewhere on that tape. They say that they questioned Rivera about the death of Molly Tibbetts. He says that on the evening she went missing on July 18th, he was following her. We're not sure if he followed her first in his car or on foot, and that he eventually started to chase her, and Molly Tibbetts said, "Get away from me." She got out her cell phone and asked him to get away from her. He tells police at that point he blacked out. Then this morning, nearly more than a month later,
he blacked out. Sure he did.
This man took authorities to the body of Molly Tibbetts, which is not far from here. It was found in a cornfield, apparently trying to be hidden by some extra corn stalks. Investigators say that that man has been charged with first-degree murder, and we are expecting to learn much more as this story develops.
Matt, could I ask you something? I know you've been covering this case from the beginning. Early on, when the police had a press conference, they said at one point that they believed that the suspect was hiding in plain sight. Do you think that Christian Rivera was that person?
Well, we're told that he lived in this area for 4 to 7 years, so he was perhaps a member of this community, maybe a well-known member of this community. So it is very likely, Dana, that he was hiding in plain sight. Authorities and families said that they think there's a possibility that the person contributed to the search efforts. We can't confirm that. We don't know if Rivera was hiding out the entire time.
Which frequently happens, people insinuating themselves into an investigation whenever they can under the guise of, I just want to help, when in fact they're personally involved.
Monsieur has been locked!
I hate to be crude, but this shit has got to stop. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you've been listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, B-Z-E-P, and on my blog, bloviatingzeppelin.net. I post there at least once a day. I want to say thank you to Lonnie Poindexter for the first hour, and promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Company and also by the Boeing Aircraft Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And to Pratt & Whitney Engines Thrust, you can trust. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be consorting shortly, probably in less than an hour. Thanks to Lonnie Poindexter again. I greatly appreciate his time. Thanks to you for listening live. Thanks to folks taking part in the chat room. Thanks to people who are listening in the podcast. Tomorrow night, Sackheads Against Tyranny, right here on the SHR Media Network. God bless everybody. Take care. Be safe. Come back tomorrow night, please.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.